something has NASA more uneasy than anything they've publicly admitted. The object known as 3I, ATLAS has pushed astronomers into a state of maximum alert, not because it's mysterious, but because almost every detail about it refuses to behave like anything naturally drifting through our solar system. Its velocity alone, estimated above 255,000 km per hour, places it in a category that shouldn't exist for a comet-like body. At such speed, it could cross the Earth-Moon distance in under 90 minutes. There is no gravitational slingshot in our region capable of accelerating an object to those levels. So the question rises, what exactly are we dealing with? When Elon Musk decided to comment on 3I, Atlas, people paid attention. Musk rarely engages in speculative commentary about space anomalies. But this object forced his hand. He compared its bizarre behavior to the first known interstellar visitor, Oumuamua. That object passed through our solar system in 2017 without producing a tail, baffling scientists who expected at least some outgassing. But the story with 3I, Atlas is the opposite. Its tail didn't just form, it erupted. Within a single night, it doubled in length, an evolution rate never seen in any catalogued comet. The difference between the two objects is so extreme that calling them similar feels misleading. One suppresses expected behavior, the other magnifies it to impossible extremes. Yet NASA's public position ever since the discovery has been unexpectedly quiet. That silence has fueled countless theories. Is it caution? Embarrassment? Or something they don't want to say outright? Musk himself questioned it. He suggested that withholding information might be an effort to prevent global panic, especially as uncertainty grows about the nature of the object. The silence is louder than any press release. When 3I, ATLAS was first detected in late July 2025 from Hawaii, it appeared as just another faint, distant intruder. But early tracking already hinted at trouble. Its incoming path pointed almost directly from the direction of the galactic center, a region dense with stars, energy, and gravitational chaos. Statistically speaking, interstellar debris should arrive from essentially random directions, not in precise alignment with the Milky Way's most active zone. The odds aren't just low, they are vanishingly small. Initial size estimates didn't help ease concerns. The smallest calculations suggested a 5-kilometer object, big enough to cause a global catastrophe if it struck Earth. The largest estimates reached up to 50 kilometers, an extinction-level impactor by every definition. But oddly, images didn't show a lumpy, uneven mass like most comet nuclei. They showed a near-perfect spherical glow, almost mechanical in its symmetry. Natural objects shaped by billions of years of collisions simply don't look like that. Then came the flickering. Throughout August, astronomers observed sudden bursts in brightness, irregular and unpredictable, almost like something inside was pulsing or interacting with forces we couldn't see. These weren't smooth changes caused by sunlight heating frozen gases. They were jumps, fast, sharp, unnatural. The real shock arrived at the end of August. Practically overnight, the object unleashed a sharply defined tail that extended rapidly, as if something had activated. NASA scientists admitted the evolution was unlike anything in comet physics. The rapid ionization observed in the plume interacted with the solar wind in a violent, electrified way. It wasn't drifting outward gently like a traditional comet tail. It looked forced, channeled, directed. This is what triggered Musk's most controversial comment. He suggested that what we were seeing might not be sublimation at all. It could be a propulsion plume. Behind the scenes, some astronomers began quietly proposing an idea they would never dare put on record. Maybe the object wasn't just falling through space. Maybe it was controlling its own movement. Maybe the sudden tail wasn't random chemistry, but thrust. And maybe the flickering wasn't sunlight, maybe it was activity. The orbit of 3I, ATLAS didn't help calm nerves. Instead of entering the solar system from a random angle, it slipped into the ecliptic plane, the exact thin slice of space where our planets orbit. The probability of this being accidental is extremely small. Then it swung past Venus, Mars, and Jupiter in a pattern that looked suspiciously like a sequence of gravitational assists. Avi Loeb calculated the odds of a naturally occurring object following this exact chain of maneuvers at around 1 in 20,000. And the most unsettling detail is still ahead. At the end of October 2025, 3I, ATLAS will pass directly behind the Sun from our perspective. For several weeks, it will be invisible. If an intelligent probe wanted a window for secret course changes, this would be its perfect opportunity. If it emerges in November on a path that defies gravitational predictions, then the implications become unavoidable. Until then, speculation is all we have. But the questions are multiplying faster than answers, and the universe feels more mysterious and more alive than ever. As the world waits for 3I, ATLAS to disappear behind the Sun, astronomers are preparing for one of the most critical observation events in modern history. The object's reappearance will either calm the fears that have been building for months or ignite the biggest scientific and social shock humanity has ever faced. And the reason is simple. Some patterns are too striking to dismiss. One of the most troubling is the object's chemical fingerprint. The dominance of carbon monoxide over water vapor in its emissions contradicts decades of cometary research. This isn't a typical mix of frozen gases. The carbon monoxide levels are so high that natural explanations feel strained. In deep space, radiation breaks down this molecule quickly, unless replenished or artificially maintained somehow. That has led some researchers to consider the unthinkable, that the molecule isn't naturally occurring inside the object, but produced as a byproduct of some internal process. At the same time, the sudden appearance of its tail remains unexplained. Traditional comets warm gradually as they approach the Sun. They produce tails slowly, layer by layer, as ice sublimates into vapor. But 3I, ATLAS behaved as if a switch had been flipped. One moment it was dormant, the next it was blasting out material in a bright, forceful plume. A tail forming that quickly doesn't fit any natural model. But it does fit the signature of a controlled release of energy, something like a burn or a maneuver. The orbital path is perhaps the most telling clue. Natural interstellar objects enter solar systems like stray bullets, randomly and without predictable alignment. Yet 3I, ATLAS threaded directly into the same orbital plane our planets occupy. It then executed a sequence of flybys resembling engineered gravity assists. Human spacecraft use these techniques to save fuel and optimize their speeds. The idea that a random visitor just happened to perform a chain of assists that mirrors mission planning strains statistical credibility. And this is why so many scientists are uneasy. If a civilization wanted to explore star systems efficiently, they would design probes capable of self-navigation, course correction, and data collection. They would not send large ships first. They would send something smaller, resilient, and capable of hiding in plain sight. Something that wouldn't alarm young civilizations. Something that looks exactly like 3I, Atlas. This is the scenario that keeps being whispered in the hallways of observatories and research institutions. Not because it's proven, but because the anomalies line up too well to ignore. If this object is artificial, then it has been watching us long before we noticed it. A probe detecting radio leakage from Earth would know we're technological. It might compare our signals to countless other worlds. And it might approach quietly, cautiously, evaluating whether humanity is a threat, a curiosity, or a potential future ally, or whether we aren't ready for contact at all. This idea might sound dramatic, but it matches what many scientists have theorized for decades. A long-lived civilization could scatter probes across the galaxy. These probes would remain dormant until they detect electromagnetic activity from emerging species. Earth has only been broadcasting for about a century, but those signals have traveled light-years outward. If a probe was already in our region or passing nearby, it might react to that beacon of information we unintentionally released. Of course, there is another possibility, one far more mundane. 3I, ATLAS could be a rare, natural interstellar object behaving in unexpected ways. Science progresses through anomalies, and this event could expand our understanding of how interstellar ices behave. Perhaps extreme internal fractures, unusual chemical layering, or an unfamiliar structural composition could explain everything we're seeing. Many astronomers still favor this interpretation, not because the evidence is perfect, but because extraordinary claims need extraordinary proof. And yet, there is another way to look at this. Even if 3I, ATLAS turns out to be natural, the fascination it has sparked reminds us how much mystery still surrounds us. How much we haven't explored. How little we understand about the cosmic neighborhood we inhabit. Whether artificial or natural, this visitor has forced humanity to ask questions we've avoided for too long. It has stirred a sense of anticipation, wonder, and even fear, emotions that shape the beginnings of all great discoveries. When the object emerges from solar occultation, the world will be watching. Telescopes across continents will capture its first rays of reflected sunlight. Analysts will compare the new orbit with previous models. And somewhere between curiosity and terror, humanity will take its next step toward understanding the truth. Whatever that truth is, we will not be the same afterward. The universe has always been waiting. Maybe now, finally, we are ready to listen. Don't forget to subscribe and enable notifications so you don't miss the moment this mysterious visitor reveals.